Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to declassify the high-stakes story of the techno-thriller Project Zulu. And let me tell you, this is a story about a world that gets pushed right to the very edge of total annihilation.
So where do we start? Well, we're not starting at the beginning. We're jumping right into the terrifying heart of the crisis.
Imagine hearing this on the news. This is the broadcast that stops the world cold. A nuclear bomb has just wiped Mumbai, India's financial capital, completely off the map. You can just feel the shockwaves from that spreading across a planet that was already on edge. But here's the twist. As horrifying as that is, it wasn't the first move, not even close. To really understand what's happening, we have to rewind just a little, because there was another attack, a much more calculated one, designed to paralyze the nation before it even knew it was at war. Okay, so the attack on the capital, New Delhi, it was a terrifying work of art. Look at this timeline. It starts by weaponizing the city's own metro system. But that was just the setup. The final move, just 2 hours later, used that very same power grid to detonate a suitcase nuke, literally erasing the government from existence. And this is where we start to see the chilling logic behind it all. See, this wasn't just random terror. It was the opening move of a grand strategy. And the code name, Takti Tas, the Peacock Throne, that tells you everything you need to know. This was about destroying one seat of power to make way for another. So the capital's in ruins, the government's gone. You'd think it's over, right? Well, not quite. In secret, a new power structure starts to form, getting ready to fight its way back from total collapse. I mean, just look at the difference here. The official government is completely vaporized, decapitated, the whole country is in chaos. But from those ashes, a secret government is born. The survivors have relocated, they're operating under martial law from a secure base, and they've become the nation's only hope, all while functioning completely in the dark. So who's in charge? It boils down to 3 key people. You've got a brand new prime minister, Rameshwaran, who was never supposed to have this job. You've got a hardened general, Vikramditya, as the new national security advisor. And then you have the real architect of the entire response, a hyper-competent, totally mysterious strategist known only as the deputy. And it's the deputy who kicks off their only path forward. It's a desperate, top-secret counteroffensive with a chillingly final name, Project Zulu. As he says, Z is the last letter. This is the last resort. There is no coming back from this. There is no plan B. Of course, a crisis this big doesn't stay quiet for long. It immediately spirals out of control, pulling the world's superpowers into a really tense, high-stakes standoff. So naturally, all eyes turn to Pakistan. Publicly, they're denying everything. It wasn't us. But behind the scenes, their actions tell a totally different story. Their military starts mobilizing, getting ready for a war they claim they don't want any part of. Meanwhile, you've got China looking on from the north. And they don't see a threat, they see an opportunity. They start sending spy planes over the border, kind of like a predator circling, just watching to see how it all plays out. And the United States? Well, they're playing a double game. Officially, they're calling for everybody to calm down. But privately, they're picking a side. They start secretly feeding critical intelligence to India's new shadow government, basically placing a bet on who's going to win this thing. With the entire world watching, the new government's main goal becomes crystal clear. They have one objective: find the man behind this terror before he can launch his final attack. Which, of course, brings us to the terrifying, central question: who is Ghazi Sharah? Who is this ghost who can orchestrate a nuclear attack with such devastating, perfect precision? Well, the intel that starts trickling in paints a horrifying picture. Sharah is not just a terrorist. He's the leader of an elite, stateless squad. And he's got the tools. We're talking Soviet-era suitcase nukes, advanced cyber weapons, and the connections to use them whenever and wherever he wants. So as this global hunt gets more and more intense, the deputy finally uncovers Ghazi Sharah's endgame. And it is a plan so apocalyptic, it makes the destruction of Delhi and Mumbai look like a warm-up. The final phase has a truly diabolical name: Operation Diwali. The plan is to hijack India's Festival of Lights and turn it into a nationwide nuclear firestorm by detonating bombs in dozens of cities all at the same time. The hunt leads them to this final, desperate showdown high in the snowy mountains of Gilgit-Baltistan, an incredibly remote, almost inaccessible place, and this is where Ghazi Shira plans to sit back and watch the world burn. He's so confident that he's already won. He's getting ready to send the final command to his network of hidden bombs, believing he's just moments away from pulling off his devastating master plan. It all comes down to this single moment. As Shira's team is rushing to send the signal that will trigger Armageddon, the deputy's team is launching a desperate, last-minute helicopter assault to stop him. The fate of hundreds of millions of people is hanging in the balance. And in a crazy last-second raid, the deputy's team pulls it off. They stop Operation Diwali, and they leave a very wounded world to grapple with what just happened. And in the quiet that comes after the storm, the focus shifts. The new prime minister, he's not looking for revenge. He's looking at the monumental task of rebuilding his nation, and most importantly, its democracy. Which leaves us with this one final haunting question. After so much catastrophic loss, and after the dark things that had to be done to prevent something even worse, in a war fought from the shadows, what does victory truly even mean?